Imagine you are walking through a forest just after dawn. The air is still cool. Mist hangs gently among the trees, and everywhere you look, green. Leaves stretch quietly toward the morning light. Roots lie hidden beneath your feet. The scene feels peaceful, still, almost silent. But in truth, you are standing in the middle of something alive. Not just in a poetic sense, but biologically, truly alive. So what does it mean to be alive? For most of us, life means movement. We watch animals run, breathe, hunt, and speak. We measure life by noise and speed, beating hearts, blinking eyes, muscles that twitch and jump. Plants, in contrast, appear motionless. They do not speak, they do not walk, they do not blink. So, for many centuries, people believed they were simple, maybe even lifeless. But that stillness is deceiving. A plant is not lifeless. It is quietly working. To understand the life of a plant, we must shift our view of time. Imagine speeding up the world by 1,000 times. In that fast-forward view, you would see leaves turning toward the sun, stems slowly bending, roots twisting through soil, flowers blooming in soft bursts. This is movement, just in a slower rhythm, and movement is only one part of being alive. Let's think like scientists for a moment. In biology, living things share certain signs of life. They grow, they reproduce, they respond to their environment, they use energy, they are made of cells, tiny living units, and they can evolve over time. By this list, plants easily meet all the conditions. They are alive, deeply so. Let's take one example, response to the environment. Imagine a sunflower in a wide field. As the day passes, the flower turns its face slowly from east to west, tracking the sun's arc across the sky. This gentle motion is not random. It is the plant sensing light, responding to it, and adjusting its growth accordingly. This process even has a name, heliotropism. It means turning toward the sun, and it helps the sunflower gather more energy for survival. Now think of a houseplant on a windowsill. One day, you notice it leans a little to one side. A few days later, it leans more, reaching toward the window. This too is a response. The plant stretches in search of more sunlight. It senses the difference in brightness and grows in that direction. It adapts without eyes or muscles, yet it moves with intention. Some plants respond to touch. The mimosa pudica, often called the sensitive plant, folds its leaves inward when touched. It happens within seconds. No brain, no nerves, just a soft and elegant defense. Others react to gravity. Roots grow downward into the earth. Shoots rise upward toward the sky. These movements are part of a system called gravitropism. Gravity pulls, and the plant responds. Still others sense moisture or chemical changes in the air and soil. They bend toward water. They grow away from harmful toxins. Their bodies behave like quiet explorers, reaching, testing, reacting. So yes, plants move. And yes, plants respond. But even more than that, plants transform energy, sunlight, air, and water. These three things are all a plant needs to survive. And using them, the plant performs one of nature's most beautiful feats. It creates its own food. This process is called photosynthesis. It means making something, in this case sugar, from light. The green pigment in leaves, called chlorophyll, captures sunlight and turns it into usable energy. That energy fuels the entire plant, root, stem, leaf, and flower. Without photosynthesis, life on Earth would be very different. Plants release oxygen as part of the process, and humans, along with most other animals, breathe that oxygen every moment of our lives. Every second, somewhere in the world, a leaf is releasing a tiny puff of oxygen, just enough to keep us going. So in a way, the life of a plant becomes the breath of an animal, a quiet exchange, a partnership older than memory. Now consider this: a plant grows and reproduces. It starts from a single seed. That seed wakes when conditions are right, with warmth, moisture, and light. A root reaches down, a shoot reaches up. Over time, the plant forms new leaves, new branches, new flowers. Those flowers create seeds, and the cycle continues. This is not instinct. It is biology. Each step written in the plant's DNA, the instructions inside its cells. The same way our bodies are guided by our own DNA. In fact, at the level of the cell, humans and plants are not so different. We both carry genes. We both pass them on. Let's pause here, because in this gentle unfolding of roots and leaves, we begin to see something more. Not just survival, not just movement, but intelligence of a kind. Some scientists call it distributed intelligence. That means thinking without a brain. A plant has no head or mind like ours, but every part of the plant, every root tip, every leaf cell can sense and respond. The intelligence is spread out, not centered. Each part listens, each part acts, like a symphony without a conductor, where every musician knows their role. Plants also share. Underground, many plants connect through networks of helpful fungi. These networks allow them to pass signals, share nutrients, and even warn each other of danger. Some people call this system the Wood Wide Web, a hidden internet beneath the forest floor. So again we ask, what does it mean to be alive? It means sensing the world. It means changing with the seasons. It means growing, adapting, and creating. A plant does all these things slowly, silently, with grace, even when we are not watching, even when we are asleep. And perhaps that is the most beautiful truth, that life comes in many rhythms, some quick, some slow, some loud, some quiet, some with heartbeat and voice, and some with roots in the soil and leaves in the sun. As we move into the next chapter, we will explore the plant's body, its roots, its stems, its leaves, and how each part works in harmony. We will see how the architecture of green life is built not just for beauty, but for survival, piece by piece, cell by cell. Let us now step quietly into that world. Picture a single green sprout just emerging from the soil. It looks simple, fragile, but inside this tiny plant is a carefully designed system, a structure built not with bricks or bones, but with cells, soft, flexible, and alive. The plant body is made of three main parts: roots, stems, and leaves. Each part has its own job, but none works alone. They form a system, a silent, slow-moving partnership that helps the plant grow, survive, and reproduce. Think of them like the organs of the plant. Each has a role, and each depends on the others. Let's begin with the roots. Roots are the part we usually do not see. They live underground, hidden from sunlight and wind. But just because they are hidden does not mean they are passive. Roots are explorers, quiet travelers beneath the surface. They search for water, they sense nutrients, they avoid obstacles, and they anchor the plant to the ground. Imagine a root growing through the soil. It reaches forward, sensing the world with every tip. When it finds soft, moist earth, it grows faster. When it hits a rock, it bends away. Some roots grow straight down, like taproots. Others spread wide, like fibrous mats. It all depends on the plant's environment and its needs. Now, let's pause and think about how roots drink. They do not have mouths, but they take in water from the soil using a process called osmosis. That simply means water moves from the wetter soil into the drier root cells. The water carries minerals with it, things like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. These minerals are the plant's food. They are used to build proteins, to power reactions, and to help the plant grow stronger. Near the tips of roots are tiny hairs. These are root hairs. They are so small you cannot see them without a microscope, but they are incredibly important. They increase the surface area of the root, letting it absorb more water. Think of them as tiny straws, thousands of them, all gently sipping from the soil. Some roots go beyond just finding nutrients. In certain plants, roots can store food. Carrots, beets, and sweet potatoes are all examples. These roots swell with stored sugar and starch, a kind of pantry beneath. The ground ready for the plant to use in hard times. In trees and tall plants, roots also provide stability. They hold the plant firmly in place. Some trees have roots that grow 2 or 3 times wider than the branches above. They form a kind of underground web, holding tight to the soil, even in storms. Now let's rise above the ground. From the roots, the stem begins. It is the spine of the plant, the connector between what is below and what is above. It carries water and nutrients from the roots upward. It also brings sugars from the leaves downward. It supports the plant's height, allowing the leaves to reach the light. Inside the stem are tiny tubes. 2 types of tubes carry different things. The first is called xylem. This tube moves water and minerals up from the roots to the leaves. It is a one-way system. Imagine a straw pulling water upward, powered by the evaporation of water from the leaves. This upward pull is called the transpiration stream. The second tube is called phloem. This one moves sugars and other nutrients made in the leaves to the rest of the plant. It works in both directions, up and down, wherever the plant needs energy. Together, xylem and phloem form the plant's transport system, like a network of highways, quiet, constant, always flowing in some plants. The stem is soft and green. In others, it is woody and strong. Tree trunks, for example, are thick stems. They grow wider each year, and if you cut across them, you see rings, one for each year of growth. These rings tell the story of seasons: wet years, dry years, cold winters, warm summers. Each ring holds a memory of time. But stems are not just pipes and pillars. In many plants, they store energy too. Sugarcane stores sugar in its stalks. Bamboo stores water inside its hollow stems. And in cacti, thick stems hold moisture for long, dry months. Now let's reach the most visible part of the plant, the leaves. Leaves are the food factories, the power plants, the light catchers. Their job is to gather sunlight. This process, as you may recall, is called photosynthesis. That word means making something from light. It is how plants create sugar from sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. Let's pause to understand that process more deeply. Each leaf contains tiny green bodies called chloroplasts. Inside these, a pigment called chlorophyll captures sunlight. The energy from the sun is then used to split water molecules taken up from the roots and combine them with carbon dioxide taken in from the air. The result is glucose, a type of sugar the plant can use. And as a bonus, the plant releases oxygen. That oxygen is what we breathe. Now imagine this. A single large tree can have hundreds of thousands of leaves. Each leaf contains millions of chloroplasts. Each chloroplast is capturing light, storing energy, and making food silently, gently, all day long. The shape of leaves is not random. Their flat surface gives them more area to catch sunlight. Most leaves are thin, so light can reach the cells inside, and on the underside of the leaf are tiny openings called stomata. These act like little mouths. They open to let in carbon dioxide and release oxygen and water vapor. They close to save moisture when the air is dry. Different plants have different types of leaves. Pine trees have narrow needles. These conserve water in cold or dry environments. Banana plants have broad, wide leaves to soak up sun in shaded jungles. Succulents, like aloe, have thick, fleshy leaves to store water in deserts. Every leaf is shaped by its world, by its climate, by its purpose. Some leaves are modified for other jobs. In onions, the layers we eat are actually modified leaves, storing food for the plant. In cacti, the sharp spines are modified leaves used for defense. In pea plants, thin tendrils, which wrap around nearby supports, are modified leaves that help the plant climb. So in every plant, the body is a balance of design and function. Roots anchor and absorb. Stems hold and carry. Leaves gather and create. But what brings these parts together is not just structure. It is movement, flow, communication. Water moves up, sugars move down, signals pass between cells. And though we cannot hear them, messages are being sent, telling the plant where to grow, when to flower, and how to react. The plant body is not like ours. It has no brain, no heart, no bones. But it is alive with its own intelligence, distributed, decentralized, yet deeply responsive. It builds itself piece by piece, each part growing from the tip, each part sensing the world, each part working with the others. And while we often think of plants as still, their bodies are full of gentle motion. A seed splits, a root curls, a leaf tilts to the sun, a stem stretches slowly toward the light. This is the choreography of the plant. Body, slow, graceful, purposeful. And now that we've met the structure of the plant, its roots, stems, and leaves, we're ready to look more closely at what fuels it all. Not just water, not just minerals, but sunlight itself. Let's journey next into the soft green world of photosynthesis and explore how plants turn light into life. All right, let's hop back into that leaf, a structure that looks so simple, so ordinary, flat, green, light as air. But inside this thin sheet of tissue, something ancient and extraordinary is always happening. A quiet miracle, repeated billions of times across every field, every tree, every forest. This process is called photosynthesis. The word itself means building with light. Photo means light. Synthesis means putting together. And that is exactly what plants do. They take three simple things: sunlight, carbon dioxide from the air, and water from the soil, and use them to create sugar. This sugar becomes food, not just for the plant, but eventually for nearly every living thing on Earth. It all begins with sunlight. When light touches a leaf, something magical happens. Inside the cells of the leaf are tiny green structures called chloroplasts. These are the sites of photosynthesis. Each chloroplast contains a pigment called chlorophyll. This pigment is what gives plants their green color. But its true gift is the ability to catch and absorb energy from sunlight. Imagine chlorophyll as a net, a light-catching net woven into the tissue of the leaf. When light hits it, the energy is captured and passed along to the next part of the system. But light alone is not enough. The plant also needs water and carbon dioxide. Water comes from the roots. It travels up through the stem, carried by the plant's inner tubes, the xylem. Once inside the leaf, the water is used in the chemical process. Carbon dioxide comes from the air. It enters the leaf through small pores on the underside called stomata. These are like tiny mouths. They open to let in gas. They close to prevent the leaf from losing too much moisture. Inside the chloroplasts, these three ingredients, sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide, come together in a beautiful reaction. Water is split into hydrogen and oxygen. The hydrogen is kept, the oxygen is released back into the air as a waste product, and that waste becomes our breath. The hydrogen from water and the carbon from carbon dioxide are used to make sugar, simple sugar, glucose. This becomes the plant's energy source. It powers growth, repair, and reproduction. Think of it like this: the leaf is a solar panel. Sunlight is the fuel. The chemical factory inside turns that fuel into food, and oxygen is the free bonus given to the world. Let's look at the full equation in simple terms. Sunlight plus water plus carbon dioxide equals sugar plus oxygen. That is photosynthesis in one line. But the reality inside the leaf is far more detailed. There are two main stages of photosynthesis. The first is the light reaction. This happens when sunlight hits the chlorophyll. That energy is used to split water and make energy-rich molecules called ATP and NADPH. You don't need to remember those names. Just know that they carry energy. The second stage is called the dark reaction. Though it doesn't happen in darkness, it simply doesn't need light directly. In this step, the energy molecules from the first stage are used to fix carbon dioxide into sugar. This cycle is known as the Calvin cycle, named after the scientist who first mapped it. Every part of this process is quiet, precise, and utterly essential. Without photosynthesis, there would be no plants. Without plants, there would be no oxygen. And without oxygen, animals, including us, could not survive. In fact, about 70% of the oxygen on Earth comes from plants in the ocean, tiny ones, microscopic ones. These ocean plants, called phytoplankton, float near the surface and carry out photosynthesis all day long. Together with forests and grasslands, they form the lungs of the planet. Now let us think about energy. The sugar made through photosynthesis is a kind of stored sunlight. The plant uses some of it right away. The rest is sent down through the phloem, the other set of tubes in the stem, to be stored in roots, stems, or fruits. When you bite into a sweet apple, you are tasting sunlight that was captured and stored. When you eat bread made from wheat or rice from a field, you are eating the product of photosynthesis. Even meat and dairy products trace back to plants. The animals that give us milk or eggs once ate grass or grain. Their energy came from sugar, and that sugar came from leaves. So in truth, all food is plant food, either directly or indirectly. But photosynthesis does more than make food. It also regulates the atmosphere. Every time a leaf takes in carbon dioxide, it removes some from the air. This helps control the levels of greenhouse gases. Forests are especially good at this. That's why they are often called carbon sinks. They store carbon inside their trunks, branches, and leaves. This helps balance Earth's climate. Even the colors of the leaves play a role. In spring and summer, most leaves are green, rich in chlorophyll. But in autumn, the chlorophyll fades. Other pigments take over: reds, oranges, yellows. These pigments also absorb light, though in different ways. And they remind us that the process is always changing, always flowing with the seasons. Now consider this. Photosynthesis is one of the oldest processes on Earth. It began more than 3 billion years ago, before animals, before forests even. Before oxygen filled the air, early bacteria first developed this method of making energy from light. Over time, plants evolved the same skill, and with it, they changed the world. Oceans turned blue, skies filled with oxygen. Complex life began to form, all because of one quiet reaction inside a leaf. Today, scientists are still learning from photosynthesis. Some try to mimic it in labs, to build solar panels that copy nature's method. Others explore how to make crops more efficient, using less water and more sunlight. Understanding photosynthesis helps us grow more food, reduce pollution, and maybe even build better energy systems. But for now, we return to the forest, to the field, to the single leaf under the sun. It hangs there, still and simple. Yet inside it, energy flows, water rises, light is caught, sugar is made, and life goes on. This is the miracle of photosynthesis. Not a myth, not magic, but a chain of precise steps written in the language of light. And so, as we step forward, let's look deeper at how plants sense the world, not just the sun, but touch, gravity, vibration, and more. Because the plant may not have eyes, or ears, or a nervous system, but it is aware, quietly aware of the world. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine the world without sight, without sound, without the ability to walk, to speak, or to hear. Would you still be able to know what's around you? Now, think of a plant. It has no eyes, no ears, no brain or nervous system like ours. And yet, it responds to its world in rich and complex ways. A plant can tell where the sun is. It knows which way is up. It can feel when it is being touched. It can react to wounds, to shade, to moisture, and even to vibration. It senses danger. It communicates quietly. And all of this happens without a single nerve cell. This kind of sensing is not human, but it is deeply alive. Let's begin with light. Plants are experts at detecting light. not just the presence of light, but also its direction, color, and length. A plant knows when the day begins and when it ends. It tracks the sun as it moves through the sky. It senses shade, and it even prepares for the seasons ahead. This sensitivity is due to light-detecting proteins called photoreceptors. These are molecules inside plant cells that respond to light. There are several kinds. Some detect blue light, some detect red, some respond to far red, a color we cannot see, but which tells the plant it is in shadow, under taller neighbors. Through these receptors, the plant knows whether to grow tall and fast or wide and steady. It can time when to bloom, when to rest, when to prepare for winter. One important response to light. Imagine a sunflower seedling placed near a window. Over the next few days, the plant bends, turning gently toward the brightest part of the sky. This is not a random movement. The plant is adjusting its growth, cell by cell, so its leaves can catch more light. But light is only one signal. Plants also sense gravity. This is how roots know to grow downward, and how stems know to grow upward. The response to gravity is called gravitropism. Inside the plant's cells are tiny grains, like small balls, that settle to the bottom when the plant tilts. These grains help the plant tell which way is up and which way is down. If you lay a plant on its side, the roots begin to bend down. The stem curves up. This correction is automatic, constant. It keeps the plant oriented, no matter how it shifts. Next, let's consider touch. Plants do not have fingers, but they are very sensitive to being touched. Some climbing plants, like peas and vines, have small tendrils. These tendrils reach out into the air. When they touch something, like a stick or a wall, they begin to curl, wrapping around for support. This is called thigmotropism. It helps the plant stay upright as it climbs toward sunlight. Another example is the Mimosa pudica, sometimes called the sensitive plant. When touched, its leaves fold inward within seconds. This may help protect it from animals or insects. It's one of the fastest movements seen in plants, a clear response to touch. Even roots are sensitive. As they grow through the soil, they can detect objects in their path. If a root hits a rock, it changes direction. If it finds rich soil, it grows faster. The root tip, just a few millimeters wide, is like a tiny decision center. It feels the world in darkness, underground. Plants can also sense water. Roots grow toward moisture, even in dry soil. They do not wander randomly. Instead, they adjust their path to find the best supply. This helps the plant survive in changing conditions. Some desert plants are so finely tuned to water that they can sprout and flower within a day of rain. Their seeds wait in the sand for months, even years, until the precise moment when water is near. And now, something even more surprising. Plants may be able to sense sound. This is a new area of study. But early research shows that plants respond to certain vibrations. For example, when roots are exposed to the sound of running water, even without physical contact, they grow in that direction. It is as if the plant hears the water through vibration. In other cases, plants exposed to the chewing sound of insects produce more chemical defenses. They detect the sound of danger and respond with protection. How is this possible? Inside plant cells are channels and structures that react to vibration. When these structures move, even slightly, they send chemical signals through the plant. These signals can change how the plant grows, or how it defends itself, or when it chooses to bloom. It is not hearing in the way we understand it, but it is a form of awareness. Plants also have internal clocks. They know when it is day, when it is night, and when it is time to change. This internal rhythm is called the circadian clock. It helps plants open their flowers in the morning and close them at night. It helps them prepare for dawn, even in total darkness. It keeps them in tune with the planet's 24-hour cycle. Some plants even seem to remember. If a mimosa plant is dropped from a small height without harm, it folds its leaves. But if the drop is repeated many times, the plant eventually stops reacting. It remembers that the drop is not dangerous. This behavior, known as habituation, shows a simple form of memory. No brain, no nerves, yet a change in response based on past experience. All of these senses, light, gravity, touch, water, sound, and time, allow the plant to stay alive, to survive in places with limited light or poor soil, or danger from animals and wind. The plant is not just a passive object. It is a sensor, a processor, a responder. Let's take a broader view now. Imagine a forest. Each tree is sensing light from above, moisture below, temperature in the air, signals from its neighbors. Each branch adjusts, each route reaches. The forest, in this way, is not just a collection of trees. It is a living network, a web of information, of growth, of silent communication. This sensitivity is one reason why plants can grow in nearly every environment on Earth, from deep ocean to desert, from mountains to rainforests. They adjust, they adapt, and they thrive. In human life, we rely on senses to experience the world. Plants do too, though in a way shaped by their stillness, by their silence, by their time scale. They do not speak, but they respond. They do not run, but they move with purpose. And they do not think, but they remember and react. This awareness may not be like ours, but it is powerful, and it is deeply connected to the natural world. As we move into the next section, we will explore a part of that world we rarely see, the underground network of roots, a place where plants communicate, share, even support one another. Let us now descend below the surface, into the quiet world beneath our feet. Now, let us journey below the surface, beneath the grass, beneath the forest floor, into a world we rarely see, but one that holds some of nature's most remarkable secrets. This is the world of roots. At first glance, roots may seem simple, just anchor points, just structures for sucking up water. But that is only part of the story. Roots are explorers, they are sensors, and perhaps most fascinating of all, they are communicators. Imagine the soil not as a dead material, but as a living space. Every handful of soil contains billions of organisms, tiny life forms, microscopic creatures, and within this space, roots reach, stretch, feel, and send signals. Roots grow in all directions. They follow moisture, they search for minerals, and they navigate around rocks and hard earth. But they also avoid danger, such as toxic metals or dry patches, and they recognize neighbors. Some plants can detect their own roots and steer away from them. Others grow aggressively toward the roots of strangers, especially if space or food is limited. This ability to distinguish self from others without a brain is one of the quiet wonders of plant life. But what makes the underground world even more surprising is the way roots connect to other plants. This happens through a group of tiny helpers called fungi, specifically through something known as mycorrhizae, a partnership between plant, roots, and certain types of fungi. The word mycorrhiza comes from Greek. Myko means fungus. Rhiza means root. This partnership is ancient. It began over 400 million years ago, and today, more than 90% of all plant species rely on it in some way. Here is how it works. The fungus grows around and even inside the root. In return for sugar from the plant, the fungus helps the roots gather water and minerals, especially phosphorus and nitrogen. These are essential nutrients that plants struggle to absorb on their own. The fungal threads are very thin, much thinner than root hairs. They can reach into tiny spaces in the soil that roots cannot access. They extend the reach of the plant, like a network of invisible fingers. But this relationship is more than just a food exchange. The fungi also link one plant to another. Imagine an underground web, a network of threads connecting tree to tree, plant to plant, even across different species. Through this network, plants can send signals. Some plants warn others of danger, such as an insect attack. Others may share extra sugar or nutrients with their young or with nearby relatives. Scientists sometimes call this the wood wide web, a hidden internet of roots and fungi beneath our feet. In one experiment, researchers found that when a tree was attacked by pests, nearby trees, connected by fungal networks, began to increase their chemical defenses even before the pests reached them. The warning had been sent underground. In another study, older trees were found feeding young seedlings, not with light, but with nutrients sent through this shared root fungal network. These older trees have been called mother trees. They help support the next generation in the forest. This exchange is not always equal. Some plants take more than they give. Others act more generously. But in general, the network benefits the whole system. It adds resilience. It helps plants survive in poor soil or during drought. And it allows for cooperation, even across species. Now, imagine the roots of a forest. They twist and turn beneath the ground. Some go deep, some spread wide. Among them are the fungal threads, hair-thin, weaving in and out, linking roots to each other, moving signals, moving nutrients. When one tree loses sunlight, perhaps due to damage or disease, others nearby may send it energy. When one plant senses drought, it may signal its neighbors to close their leaf pores and save water. This system does not think like we do. It has no brain, no language, but it works, and it works well. There is more. Roots can release chemicals into the soil. Some of these attract helpful bacteria. Others push away competing plants. This is called allelopathy, when a plant produces substances that affect its neighbors, either helping or hindering their growth. Some weeds use this to dominate a field. Some trees, like the black walnut, release toxins that keep other plants from growing nearby. It is a form of chemical competition. Yet, in other cases, plants use root signals to recognize family. Research shows that some plants will grow more gently or allocate more nutrients when surrounded by their kin. This kind of behavior raises big questions. Can plants show preference? Do they have a sense of community? The answers are still unfolding, but what is clear is that the underground world is far from silent. Let's consider drought, one of the greatest challenges plants face. When water disappears, roots respond quickly. They send signals to the leaves, telling them to close their stomata, the tiny pores used for breathing. This helps prevent water loss. Some plants go further. Their roots release special hormones. One of these is called abscisic acid, or a BA. It tells the plant to stop growing, conserve energy, and prepare for hard times. When rain returns, the roots sense the change, and the plant begins to recover. Even seeds, waiting in the soil, are tuned in to this hidden world. Some seeds will not sprout unless they detect certain chemical cues from nearby roots. Others wait for signals from fungi before they grow. This helps them know when conditions are right. In deserts, where life is harsh, this timing can mean survival. Let's pause for a moment. Think of a plant you've seen today, a tree, a flower, even a blade of grass. Now picture the roots below. Not just roots, but threads, networks, tiny signals being passed, water moving, minerals flowing, secrets exchanged in silence. This is the hidden life below ground. It is invisible to us, yet essential to life above. Without this network, forests would not grow, crops would not thrive, even houseplants would struggle to survive. Understanding the root network changes how we see the earth. It shows us that life is not just competition, it is also connection. And it reminds us that survival is not only about strength, but about relationships, about sharing, about silent communication. As we rise again toward the surface, let us remember that what we see, the leaves, the stems, the flowers, are only half the story. The other half is below, waiting, listening, supporting. In the next section, we will explore how plants use chemical signals, not just underground, but also through the air. They do not speak in words, but in scents, in particles, in invisible messages carried on the wind. Let's continue this journey into the language of plants, one that flows, not through roots alone, but through every part of their being. Take a moment to imagine a forest after rainfall. The air is thick with scent. The smell of damp bark, wet soil, and green life fills your lungs. It may feel like nature's perfume, but to plants, it is more than just fragrance. It is language. Plants speak, not in sound, not in words, but in chemicals. They release invisible signals into the air and into the soil. These signals can carry warnings, call for help, invite partnerships, or confuse attackers. This hidden language is part of how plants survive in a complex and often dangerous world. Let us begin with danger. Imagine a caterpillar begins to chew on a leaf. The plant is not helpless. It can sense the damage. The wounding of its cells sets off a chain of signals. In response, the plant produces special chemicals, bitter, spicy, or even toxic, to make its leaves less tasty. But something more fascinating happens. The plant also sends a signal into the air. That signal is made of small molecules called volatile organic compounds. These are light and quick. They float from leaf to leaf, and they serve as a message to nearby plants. A neighboring plant, sensing these volatiles, prepares itself. It begins to increase its own defenses. It has not yet been touched, but it is already responding because it has heard the warning. This is not science fiction. It has been observed again and again. Corn plants, tomato vines, sagebrush, all of them use this silent alarm system. They do not need eyes or ears to know something is wrong. Just the right scent. Some of these warning chemicals are specific. They carry information about the type of attacker, a chewing insect, a fungal infection, a grazing animal. Each threat may trigger a different blend of molecules. Let's look at one striking example. When a caterpillar feeds on a corn plant, the plant releases a scent that attracts wasps. These wasps do not harm the plant, but they do lay their eggs inside the caterpillars. The wasp larvae then consume the caterpillar from the inside. So, in a sense, the plant calls for an ally, a defender. It does not fight the predator directly. Instead, it invites help from the air. Other plants use scent to warn their own kind. Some trees, when attacked, produce chemicals that cause their neighbors to thicken their bark, or produce more tannins, substances that make their leaves harder to digest. This kind of communication is not conscious, it is chemical, a reaction, based on cause and effect. But it works. Even below ground, the conversation continues. As we explored in the last section, roots can release compounds into the soil. These root signals can attract helpful fungi, or warn of disease, or even shape which bacteria grow nearby. In some cases, a plant under attack will release a signal into the soil. That signal travels through the fungal network, the mycorrhizal threads, to nearby roots. The neighbors receive the message and begin to activate their defenses. It is a quiet chain reaction. One plant's injury becomes a lesson for many. Now let us think about cooperation. Some plants share information not just in times of danger, but also to help the group grow together. For example, in legume plants, like beans and peas, roots release chemicals that attract special bacteria. These bacteria help fix nitrogen from the air into the soil. The plant benefits from more nutrients, and the bacteria gain a safe place to live. The chemicals released by the root serve as both an invitation and a guide. They tell the bacteria, "Come here, I need you." In return, the bacteria send their own signals, confirming the partnership. They form small nodules on the root where the exchange happens. This dialogue between root and bacteria is precise. Each step is guided by chemical messages, no speaking required. Let's go even further. Some plants, especially in tropical forests, release chemical signals that suppress the growth of nearby seeds. This may sound selfish, but it helps reduce overcrowding. Each plant ensures that its own space stays open, that its roots can find water, that its leaves can reach sunlight. This form of chemical spacing creates patterns in forests and grasslands. It shapes which species grow where, and it helps maintain balance in the ecosystem. Not all chemical messages are used for defense or sharing. Some are used for attraction. Flowers release scents to guide pollinators. Each flower has a unique fragrance. Bees, butterflies, birds, and even bats use these scents to find nectar. Some flowers smell sweet. Others smell like rotting meat to attract flies. The scent depends on the pollinator. A single flower can produce dozens of scent molecules. These change with time of day, weather, and age. The message adjusts depending on when the pollinators are most active. In fact, some orchids go further. They produce chemicals that mimic the scent of female insects. Male insects, drawn in by the illusion, try to mate with the flower, and in doing so, carry pollen from one plant to another. This is trickery, but it works. Now consider fruit. When fruit is ripe, it releases a sweet aroma that sent signals to animals, "Come eat me." When the fruit is eaten, the seeds are carried away and spread. So in this case, the plant uses smell to move its children, to find new places to grow. The power of plant scent is so great that humans have used it for centuries. Essential oils, herbal medicines, aromatherapy, these are based on the same chemicals plants use to speak. Even spices like cinnamon, mint, or basil come from the chemicals that plants use to protect themselves. What we call flavor is part of the plant's defense, or its invitation. Now pause for a moment. Breathe in. Wherever you are, if a plant is nearby, it may be speaking, not to you directly, but to the world around it. A scent may be drifting from a flower, calling to a bee. A root may be releasing a signal, warning of drought. A leaf may be sending a chemical, asking for help. This is the chemical language of plants, silent, invisible, but rich with meaning. And it is part of what allows plants to survive, to cooperate, to adapt. They do not have voices, but they speak in molecules, in mixtures, in whispers carried on the wind. As we move into the next section, we will shift our focus from these invisible messages to the physical responses they trigger. We will look at how plants move, not by muscles or bones, but by growth, by bending, by changes deep inside their cells. We will watch the slow dance of the green world, a choreography guided by light, touch, and time. Let us turn now to the beauty of movement in stillness. Look outside your window and watch the nearest plant. It might be a tall tree, a houseplant in a pot, a blade of grass in the wind. At first, it seems still, quiet, completely unmoving. But time tells a different story. Give it hours, give it days, and you'll begin to see motion. Leaves that shift, buds that open, stems that stretch toward the sun. This is plant behavior. A choreography that unfolds not in seconds, but in slow, deliberate rhythms. Plants may be rooted in one place, but they are never truly still. Their bodies change shape, their organs adjust, their tissues respond to the world around them, to light, to gravity, to touch, and to time. Let us begin with the simplest kind of plant movement, growth. Unlike animals, plants cannot walk toward food or away from danger. Instead, they grow in the right direction. That is their form of movement. It's slow but purposeful. This kind of movement is guided by special chemicals inside the plant called hormones. Plant hormones are tiny messengers. They move from cell to cell, telling each part of the plant when to grow, when to rest, when to bend, or when to bloom. There are several kinds of plant hormones, but one of the most important is called auxin, spelled A-U-X-I-N. Auxin controls the way a plant bends toward light. It collects on the shaded side of a stem. There, it causes the cells to grow longer. As those cells stretch, the stem bends toward the light source. This bending is a type of movement known as phototropism, movement toward light. Probably seen this in real life. A sunflower turning to follow the sun, a houseplant reaching toward a nearby window. It is not a random curve. It is a guided response directed by hormones, light receptors, and flexible cells. Now let's explore how plants respond to gravity. Seeds germinate in the dark soil. When the root begins to grow, it knows to push downward. The shoot grows up. This awareness of gravity is called gravitropism. Inside plant cells are tiny grains that settle at the lowest point, depending on how the plant is tilted. These grains help the plant sense which way is down. In response, roots bend downward and stems bend upward. Even if a plant is knocked sideways, it will slowly adjust, correcting its posture, like a slow-motion dancer returning to balance. Next, consider touch. Some plants move when touched, not in panic, but in strategy. We've met the Mimosa pudica before, the sensitive plant that folds its leaves when disturbed. This movement happens in less than a second. It may help protect the plant from insects or grazing animals. The leaves become smaller, less appetizing. Another example is the Venus flytrap. Its leaves snap shut when triggered by touch-sensitive hairs. This movement is fast and purposeful. It traps insects inside, which the plant digests for nutrients, but most plant movements are slower. Take the tendrils of a climbing vine. These thin, curling arms wave gently through the air until they find support, a stick, a wire, another plant. Once they make contact, the cells on one side grow faster, causing the tendril to wrap around its support. This process, called thickness, allows the plant to climb higher, reach more sunlight, and stay stable in the wind. These movements are subtle, but they are not passive. They are triggered, regulated, managed. At the heart of these movements are flexible cells, shifting water pressure and chemical signals. The plant doesn't move by muscles. It moves by changing shape. One way plants adjust shape is through a process called turgor pressure. Inside each cell is water. The pressure of this water pushes against the cell wall. When cells take in more water, they swell. When they lose water, they shrink. By adjusting water pressure in specific areas, a plant can move parts of its body. For example, some flowers open in the morning and close at night, driven by changes in cell pressure, light levels, and hormone signals. In other cases, leaves adjust their angle during the day to catch the most light, or close their pores when the air is too dry. These are small motions, but they serve large purposes. Let us now think about timing. Plant behavior follows patterns. Patterns set by the sun, the moon, the seasons. Many plants have what is called a circadian rhythm, a 24-hour cycle of behavior. This rhythm tells them when to open their flowers, when to make food, when to rest. Even if placed in constant darkness, some plants will still follow this rhythm for a while, as if they carry an internal clock. Other behaviors follow longer cycles. In spring, temperature and light levels rise. This triggers flowering in many species. Trees begin to bud. Grasses send up shoots. In autumn, shorter days signal the plant to slow down. Trees pull nutrients from their leaves. The leaves fall. The plant enters dormancy, a kind of sleep for winter. These seasonal behaviors are not random. They are guided by light receptors and hormones working together. One hormone, called gibberellin, helps plants grow taller and break seed dormancy. Another, called ethylene, controls fruit ripening and leaf drop. Together, these hormones allow the plant to time its life, to flower when pollinators are near, to produce fruit when animals can spread its seeds, to rest when resources are low. These movements and patterns may seem slow, but when viewed over time, they reveal a kind of intelligence, not like human thought, but like natural wisdom. A seed senses when to wake. A flower opens only when the bee is likely to arrive. A tree drops its leaves before the snow falls. These are not guesses, they are decisions written in biology, in genes, in chemistry. Let's pause and reflect. When we think of movement, we often imagine running, jumping, flying, but there is another kind of motion, quiet, steady, intentional, the bending of a stem, the unfolding of a leaf, the gentle spiral of a vine climbing a fence. Plant behavior is movement in slow motion, but it is movement with purpose, and it reminds us that stillness is not the same as silence. As we continue our journey, let's shift our focus from movement to defense, because in the next section, we will explore how plants protect themselves without teeth, without claws, without flight. Plants have developed powerful strategies to survive in a world full of hungry mouths. They use structure, chemistry, and sometimes surprising partnerships. Let us now step into the plant's defense and see how stillness becomes strength. A deer steps softly into a meadow. A caterpillar inches along a leaf. A beetle burrows into a stem, and somewhere nearby, a rabbit takes a bite of grass. In the world of plants, danger is constant. Every leaf, every flower, every root is at risk of being eaten. But plants cannot run, they cannot hide, they cannot growl or bite. So how do they survive? They rely on other tools, strategies shaped by millions of years of quiet battles. These include tough armor, toxic chemistry, deceptive designs, and even unlikely partnerships. Let us begin with structure, the most visible form of defense. Many plants grow physical barriers to protect themselves. These can take the form of thorns, spines, or sharp edges. Thorns are modified branches. You can see them on roses or citrus trees. They are stiff and sharp, designed to injure anything that bites too close. Spines are modified leaves. Think of a cactus in the desert. Its needle-like spines discourage thirsty animals from chewing its water-storing tissues. Other plants grow hairs on their leaves. These tiny hairs, called trichomes, can be soft or hard. In some species, they act like little spikes. In others, they can release chemicals that irritate the mouths or skin of attackers. Some leaves are tough and leathery. Others are lined with edges that feel like sandpaper. These textures discourage chewing and make digestion harder. But sometimes, structure is not enough, so plants turn to chemistry. Many plants produce toxic or bitter compounds that make them less appealing to predators. For example, tobacco plants produce nicotine, a strong chemical that deters insects. Foxglove plants make a compound that affects the heart. Even common vegetables, like potatoes and tomatoes, belong to families that contain mild poisons in their leaves. These toxic chemicals are called secondary metabolites. Unlike the sugars and proteins needed for growth, secondary metabolites serve no direct role in building the plant's body. Instead, they serve defense. There are three major types. First, alkaloids. These include caffeine, nicotine, morphine, and others. They often affect the nervous systems of animals. Second, terpenoids. These are found in pine trees, mint leaves, and citrus peels. They give plants their scent. Some repel insects. Others attract helpful ones. Third, phenolics. These include tannins, which are found in tea and unripe fruit. Tannins make the plant taste bitter and can slow digestion. Plants do not produce these chemicals all the time. Often, they release them only when attacked. This saves energy. It also ensures the right response at the right time. Let's imagine a caterpillar takes a bite of a leaf. Within minutes, the plant senses the damage. Enzymes in the saliva of the caterpillar trigger chemical changes in the leaf. Signals are sent throughout the plant. Some of these signals cause nearby leaves to produce toxins. Others travel to the roots, which begin sending more nutrients toward defense instead of growth. In some species, the plant even sends a chemical signal into the air. This signal, called a volatile, warns nearby plants or invites predators. Of the pest, a tomato plant, for instance, can call wasps when attacked by a maintain. The wasps lay their eggs inside the worm, killing it. The plant cannot move, but it has summoned help. This leads us to one of the most surprising parts of plant defense partnership. Some plants rely on animals for protection. Acacia trees in parts of Africa grow hollow thorns and produce nectar. These attract ants. In return for food and shelter, the ants patrol the tree, attacking any insect or animal that tries to eat the leaves. It is a simple exchange. The plant gives housing. The ant gives security. Other plants rely on birds or mammals to spread their seeds, so they make their fruits sweet and colorful. But the seeds themselves may be hard to digest, or coated in chemicals that only break down after passing through the digestive tract. This ensures the seed is carried far, planted in fresh soil, and less likely to be eaten again. Now, let's think about disguise. Some plants use visual tricks to avoid being noticed. There are orchids that look like dead leaves, flowers that mimic stones, vines that blend perfectly with their surroundings. Others use mimicry not to hide, but to intimidate. A plant in South America grows leaves with patterns that resemble the eggs of butterflies. Since butterflies avoid laying eggs near other eggs, to reduce competition, they fly elsewhere. The pattern fools them. The plant avoids attack. Even more remarkable, some plants mimic other species entirely. There is a plant that smells like a wasp-infested fig. This smell keeps fruiting animals away. There is another that mimics the leaves of toxic neighbors, tricking grazers into thinking it too is dangerous. Let's pause here. These defenses may seem extreme, but consider the risk. A single grazing animal could strip a small plant in minutes. A caterpillar infestation could destroy a whole crop, so the plant must be ready, always, even in sleep, even in silence. Defense is not just protection, it is survival, and it is part of the balance between plants and herbivores, a relationship that shapes forests, fields, and even the foods we grow. Now think about the food on your plate. Spinach has oxalates, natural compounds that can cause irritation in high amounts. Broccoli and kale contain glucosinolates, which give them their sharp flavor. Even the caffeine in your tea or coffee was once a warning signal, telling insects to stay away. What we enjoy as flavor was first designed as protection as humans. We have learned to use these plant defenses for our own purposes. We make medicine from plant poisons. We use bitter herbs for healing. We grow spicy peppers, not just for taste, but because they resist pests. Over time, we've learned to live with these chemicals. Some of them even help us. In small amounts, they train our systems, boost our defenses, or offer relief from illness. But for the plant, their purpose was always the same: to stay alive. As we move into the next section, we will leave defense behind and focus on one of the most beautiful acts in plant life: reproduction. We will explore how flowers attract pollinators, how seeds form, and how plants find ways to move even without legs. It is a story of color, scent, timing, and trust. Let us now open the flower and discover the secrets of its bloom. Imagine walking through a quiet garden just after dawn. The air is soft, filled with delicate fragrances. Each flower around you is not just a pretty decoration. It is a carefully crafted invitation, a secret message written in colors and scents, designed to catch the attention of passing insects, birds, or even the wind. This is nature's subtle dance, the reproductive strategy of plants. At the heart of this dance lies the flower. The flower is the plant's way of reproducing. Unlike animals that move to find a mate, plants use clever tricks to reach out and connect. These tricks include bright colors, sweet smells, and shapes that guide tiny visitors. These visitors are called pollinators. Pollinators include bees, butterflies, hummingbirds, and even bats. They are drawn by the promise of nectar, a sugary reward. When they visit, they unknowingly carry pollen from one flower to another. This transfer of pollen is the key step in plant reproduction, called pollination. Without pollinators, many plants could not produce seeds or fruit. Let's start with color. Flowers have evolved to display colors that stand out. Red, yellow, purple, and blue catch the eyes of different pollinators. For example, bees can see ultraviolet light, a kind of color invisible to humans. Some flowers have patterns only visible in ultraviolet. These act like landing strips, guiding bees right to the nectar. But color alone is not enough. Many flowers produce unique scents to attract pollinators from far away. Imagine the sweet perfume of a jasmine or the spicy scent of a magnolia. These smells travel on the breeze, signaling that food is nearby. Different pollinators are attracted to different scents. Night-flying moths prefer strong, sweet smells, while flies may be drawn to odors that smell like rotting fruit. The shape of the flower also plays an important role. Some flowers have wide open cups, easy for butterflies to land on. Others are tube-shaped, perfect for hummingbirds with their long beaks. Some even have delicate traps that temporarily hold insects to ensure pollen sticks to their bodies. Inside every flower are male and female parts. The male part, called the stamen, produces pollentini grains that carry the male genetic information. The female part is called the pistil. It contains the ovary, where seeds will develop after fertilization. When a pollinator lands on a flower, pollen sticks to its body. As the pollinator moves to the next flower, some pollen brushes off onto the sticky tip of the pistil. This process starts fertilization, the joining of male and female genetic material. After fertilization, the ovary begins to grow, slowly transforming the flower into a fruit. Fruit is nature's way of protecting the seeds inside and helping them travel. Some fruits are soft and sweet, like apples or berries. Animals eat these fruits and later spread the seeds in their droppings, far from the parent plant. Other fruits have hard shells or hooks that stick to fur or clothing, hitching rides to new locations. Seeds themselves are incredible packages. Inside each seed is a tiny plant embryo, protected by a tough outer coat. Seeds contain all the nutrients needed to start new growth. Some seeds wait patiently for the right conditions, such as warmth or rain, before they begin to sprout. This whole cycle, from flower to fruit to seeds, one of the oldest dances on Earth. Plants and pollinators have evolved together for millions of years, shaping each other's forms and behaviors. This partnership is delicate. If disappear, many plants cannot reproduce. This affects whole ecosystems and even human food supplies. Consider the coffee plant. Its tiny flowers attract bees. Without these pollinators, there would be no coffee beans to roast. Or think of almonds, which depend almost entirely on bee pollination. The health of these pollinators links directly to the food we eat every day. The story of flowers and their pollinators reminds us that nature is full of connections. Every color, every scent, every shape is part of a larger conversation between living things. This quiet, ongoing dance shapes the world around us. Imagine next spring when you see a bright flower blooming. Behind that beauty lies a complex story of attraction, partnership, and life itself. This is the magic of reproduction in the plant kingdom. Imagine stepping into a vast desert under the blazing sun. The heat is intense and water is scarce, yet life thrives here in surprising ways. Among the shifting sands, certain plants have mastered the art of survival by storing water inside their thick leaves or stems. These plants are called succulents. Their tissues are like natural water tanks, holding moisture that can last for months. One famous succulent is the cactus. Its spines protect it from thirsty animals and reduce water loss by creating shade. Beneath its tough skin, the cactus stores water in fleshy tissues. At night, when the air cools, it opens tiny pores to collect carbon dioxide, avoiding water loss during the hot days. This smart system helps it survive where many plants would wither. Traveling from deserts to rainforests, the contrast is striking. Here, towering trees reach the sky, forming dense green canopies that filter sunlight. These trees grow in a silent race for light, each branch stretching outward or upward. The rainforest is a world of competition and cooperation. Some trees have enormous leaves to catch the limited sun beneath the canopy, while others have smooth bark to shed excess water. Consider the giant kapok tree. It can grow over 70 meters tall, creating a home for countless creatures. Its roots spread wide and deep, anchoring it firmly in the soft soil. The kapok's hollow trunk stores air, helping it stay stable during floods. This tree plays a vital role supporting birds, insects, and even monkeys. In the cold Arctic tundra, plants face a different challenge: freezing temperatures and a short growing season. Here, small, hardy plants like mosses and lichens form carpets over the ground. Their low profile helps them avoid icy winds. These tiny plants grow slowly but steadily, turning the barren land into a fragile but thriving ecosystem during the brief summer months. Moving to tropical savannas, plants must adapt to both wet and dry seasons. The baobab tree, sometimes called the upside-down tree for its unusual shape, stores large amounts of water in its swollen trunk during droughts. This water sustains the tree and animals that depend on it. Baobabs also have thick bark that resists fire, common in these dry landscapes. In temperate forests, deciduous trees shed their leaves in autumn. This strategy conserves water and energy during cold winters. When spring returns, new leaves grow and the cycle continues. The colors of fall reds, oranges, and yellows are a signal of this natural rhythm caused by pigments hidden beneath. Green chlorophyll, high in the mountains. Plants face thin air and strong sunlight. Alpine plants often grow close to the ground, with thick leaves covered in tiny hairs. These hairs protect from cold and reflect harsh light. Their compact shapes reduce wind damage. Some alpine flowers bloom quickly in the short summer, making the most of the warm days. Along the coasts, salt-tolerant plants called halophytes thrive. Mangroves are a perfect example. They grow in salty mud where few plants can survive. Their roots form tangled networks that protect shorelines from erosion and provide habitats for fish and birds. Mangroves filter salt from the water, allowing them to live in harsh conditions. In Australia, the eucalyptus tree produces oils that deter insects and fires. After a fire, eucalyptus seeds germinate quickly, taking advantage of open space and sunlight. This resilience helps eucalyptus forests recover rapidly, maintaining balance in the ecosystem. Each of these plants tells a story of adaptation. Their forms, functions, and strategies reflect millions of years of evolution. They are not just survivors, but innovators, shaping and shaped by their environment. The diversity of plant life on Earth is a testament to nature's creativity. From water-storing succulents to towering rainforest giants, from tiny tundra mosses to salt-filtering mangroves, plants have found ways to thrive in almost every corner of the world. This rich variety of adaptations also reminds us of our connection to nature. Plants influence the air we breathe, the food we eat, and the water we drink. Understanding their stories deepens our respect for the fragile balance of life on Earth. Imagine the desert cactus and the rainforest, kapok tree sharing the same planet, each with unique solutions to survive. Their differences enrich the planet's tapestry, offering lessons in resilience and harmony. As you drift into calm, consider how plants around the world continue their quiet work capturing sunlight, cycling nutrients, and supporting life. Their strategies may seem simple, but they are part of a complex and beautiful system that sustains us all. Imagine a time long before modern hospitals and pharmacies. In those days, people turned to the natural world for healing and comfort. Plants have always been more than just food or decoration. They carry stories, secrets, and power. They heal wounds, calm pain, and inspire wonder. The relationship between plants and people is ancient and deep. Many medicines we use today come from plants discovered centuries ago. For example, the willow tree's bark contains a natural chemical that became the basis for aspirin. People learned that chewing on this bark helped ease aches and fevers. This simple discovery led to one of the most widely used medicines in the world. Herbal remedies continue to play an important role in healthcare. especially in places where modern medicine is less accessible. Plants like ginger, turmeric, and peppermint soothe digestion and reduce inflammation. These remedies are part of traditional knowledge passed down through generations, connecting us to the wisdom of the past. Plants also influence our emotions and memories. Think of lavender, known for its calming scent. Its gentle aroma can reduce stress and promote relaxation. The smell of fresh pine or eucalyptus can clear the mind and sharpen focus. These effects are why certain plants are used in rituals or meditation practices around the world. In many cultures, plants hold symbolic meanings. The lotus flower, for example, is a symbol of purity and rebirth in Asian traditions. The oak tree represents strength and endurance in Western myths. These symbols show how plants shape human stories and identities. They connect us to nature and to each other. Some plants are even part of spiritual rituals. In ancient Egypt, frankincense was burned to create a sacred atmosphere. Native American peoples use sage to cleanse spaces and invite positive energy. These practices show how plants become bridges between the physical and the spiritual world. Beyond medicine and ritual, plants play roles in memory. Certain plants grow in gardens or places that hold personal or cultural significance. They remind us of loved ones, important events, or times long past. The cherry blossoms of Japan, for example, symbolize the fleeting nature of life, inspiring reflection and appreciation. The power of plants to heal, inspire, and connect us goes beyond their physical presence. Their colors, scents, and shapes speak to our senses and our souls. They teach us patience, resilience, and renewal. Imagine holding a leaf that has healed a wound, or smelling a flower that calms a restless mind. These moments remind us that plants are part of our story. They have shaped human health, culture, and emotion for thousands of years. As the night deepens and thoughts grow still, let this connection between plants and people linger gently in the mind. It is a quiet bond stretching back through time, rooted in healing and meaning. Imagine standing in a quiet forest. The trees stretch upward, their leaves rustling softly in the breeze. Around you, the world seems still. Yet, beneath this calm surface, an unseen conversation is taking place. Plants speak in whispers of growth, survival, and change. They shape the very air we breathe and the ground beneath our feet. Understanding plant life is not just a matter for scientists or gardeners. It is a lesson for all of us. Plants are the silent engines of life on Earth. They capture sunlight and turn it into energy, a process called photosynthesis. This energy feeds the animals that eat plants, and those animals feed others, creating a complex web of life. Without plants, this web would unravel. Plants also regulate our climate. Through their leaves, they absorb carbon dioxide, a gas that warms the planet. They release oxygen, which we breathe. Forests act like giant sponges, soaking up water and releasing it slowly. This helps keep rivers flowing and the air fresh. When plants are healthy, the Earth's systems stay in balance. But the world of plants is fragile. Human activities have changed landscapes, cut down forests, and polluted air and water. These changes threaten the plants that support life. Losing plants means losing homes for animals and disrupting the food chains that feed us. It means losing medicines that could cure diseases and losing beauty that soothes the soul. Imagine a world without the gentle shade of trees or the vibrant colors of flowers. Without plants, deserts would spread and the air would grow thin. The soil would erode, washing away nutrients that plants and crops need to grow. This is why protecting plant life is essential for our future. Food, for instance, depends deeply on plants. Nearly all the grains, fruits, and vegetables we eat come from flowering plants. Pollinators, like bees and butterflies, help these plants produce seeds and fruit. Without them, food supplies would shrink, affecting millions of people. The diversity of plants ensures variety on our plates and nutrients in our bodies. Studying plants also teaches us about resilience and adaptation. Plants have survived ice ages, droughts, and floods by changing and evolving. They offer lessons in patience and endurance. In the face of climate change, plants remind us that life can adjust, but only if given a chance. Protecting habitats and reducing pollution help plants continue this silent work. Plants are also part of human culture and well-being. Gardens calm the mind, parks bring communities together, and trees clean city air. Even in quiet moments, the presence of plants connects us to nature's rhythms. This connection fosters respect and care, encouraging us to live more gently with the earth. Reflecting on this silent world, one sees that plants are not merely background scenery. They are active participants in the story of life. Their slow, steady growth contrasts with the rapid pace of human life, inviting us to slow down, observe, and appreciate. The lessons from plants extend beyond science. They touch on hope and responsibility. We depend on plants not only for survival, but for inspiration and meaning. Protecting plant life is a way to protect ourselves and future generations. As night deepens and thoughts quiet, let this gentle reminder settle. What appears still may be more alive and vital than we realize. The silent green world is full of stories waiting to be heard. In this quiet space, plants continue their age-old dance of light and life. Their persistence teaches us that life, in all its forms, is precious and interconnected. This understanding invites a deeper respect and care for the world we share.